So I think that's great. Oh my God, I'm sorry. Oh, she just scared the out of me. Oh.
I'm so sorry.
Oh my gosh. Oh. Oh. Oh my God. Welcome back to Raising a Gamer, a show about me trying to raise my gamer child in week-to-week segments. It's encouraged for you to comment and join in the discussion, to which I'll respond in the following week's episode. On to the show! First of all, I have to apologize. I tried recording a couple days ago, and I actually recorded as the sun was setting. And so it started, let me show you. Happy Independence Day! And then let me show you later on down the line, it actually got darker, which I didn't like the quality. So here, let me show you. Signing off later. Yeah, so on behalf of the show, which is just me, I guess, I apologize for a late show. It's going to be a day late as of this recording. So I apologize. But I do have a lot of things to tell you about, and it's going to be pretty cool. First of all, let's get on to the tired meter. Oh, I'm so tired. It's like, I would say I'm getting to like a 4 or 5 right now, because out of 10 being awake and 1 being totally exhausted, I'm just like, I'm starting to work stuff out with my wife and be able to do some sleep now and then, but physically it's just wearing on me, and I know I'm in it for the long haul, but it's just gonna be a little grindy, specifically with the child not being able to sleep throughout the night. It's great to see my baby grow. In fact, when I first saw her coming out of my wife's cuckoo, she had this kind of cone-ish type head, and now after about a couple weeks, her head's kind of filled out a little bit, so her head's really straightened. She actually looks like a little baby now instead of this kind of alienish kind of cone-faced thingy. I don't know. But she's very healthy. She's average across the board. She's 50th percentile in everything. Height, weight. It's everything is just crazy normal, which is great. And I like that. So here's to a more healthy baby as the days go on. Months, years, whatever. So it's gone. What I'm referring to is last week I was talking about this thing, which is really the dried umbilical cord that sticks out of my little girl's, belly button, and it kind of looks like an alien. Here, let me show you. Yeah, it fell off. Oh my gosh, after about a couple weeks, it fell off, and it's this little crusty thingy bobber that still kind of looks like an alien. Here, let me show you. And now, here's what my baby's belly button looks like. So cute. Oh my gosh. It's cool. The alien baby thingy bobber umbilical cord thing is gone, and I'm really excited. All right, so today, this episode, we're going to finally go and talk about feedback that we got from the previous episode. Now, we've had people comment on episodes prior, but this week I'm actually going to go back to feedback specifically pertaining to last week's question of the day, which was, what if my child does not want to be a gamer? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually read some of these responses. And last week I had several, about 3. So I'm going to go tell you about them right now. Amanda says, I'm assuming that jaundice went away. Yes, I talked about jaundice and how my child had a little bit of jaundice, but now her eyes have cleared up. Thank you for asking, Amanda. She also said, obviously, if you're in the board games, that's an avenue you need to explore with her. That was one of my favorite pastimes with my parents, so she had definitely grew up. I guess in this day and age, It's very rare, maybe, to see parents interact with their children that way. Like me and my parents, we kind of played board games, but very rarely, and it was like Monopoly, which was horrible. Dihtri, which is spelled Dihtri, she says, "My daughter's turning 3 in October. Her older brother's 5, and over the years has turned into a gamer. She isn't a gamer yet, mostly because I personally think it's too young for her to zone out in front of a device when she can't even talk in fluid sentences." Now, she goes on a lot to talk about how her daughter has really kind of plays around and really wants to try and play video games. But she's got a lot of, she explains a lot. And I like the fact that she's going into this explanation because it's going to actually go into our next question of the day. Thank you, Dietry. Really appreciate the comment. It's amazing. Stefan said, "My daughter wasn't raised a gamer, but raised to use her imagination. She loves most board games, like Uncharted. At 14, she's already playing Uncharted at age 14, which is amazing. I think it's great. And a great video game series. Uncharted is amazing. Who knew she was going to get hooked on those kinds of video games? She cleared Uncharted 1, 2, and almost through Tomb Raider, Ultimate Edition. Oh my gosh, that's really cool. She's reluctantly doing Last of Us and Uncharted 3. More importantly, she can do this 1 hour or less, and she's okay with that. Now, I totally believe in, compartmentalizing their game experiences at the beginning, and I understand that. That's cool because, I'm, like I said, I used to work in the video game industry. In the prequel episode, I am a very big proponent of making sure that the children aren't going too far with their video games and playing all night. Not at an early age. Okay. He continues that as a young teen, her days are filled with her being his daughter. Her days are being filled with watching YouTube, making arts and crafts, playing video games, swimming, texting, hanging out with friends, etc. So at least she's got that kind of interaction. More stimuli, the better. And if she doesn't become a gamer when she's an adult, that's okay. At least she'll be able to hang with her kids when she gets a PS8 or PS9. So he's kind of thinking ahead. All right. Thank you, Stefan. It's amazing to have input from people that have gone through it. And for me, having a child that's just like 3 weeks old, obviously she's not coherent enough. I appreciate those kinds of advice because it kind of helps me plan ahead on what I want to do to prepare my child for gaming. So, on to the question of the day. The question of the day is board games or video games. Now, a lot of people don't understand that right now there's a huge resurgence in board game sales and creativity and releases. And if you look on Kickstarter, there is a huge spike in Kickstarter projects, particularly board games and card games, party games, and all that kind of stuff. And it's just amazing. If you really took your time to kind of research it out a little bit, you'll be able to see that board games are on the rise. Why? Here's my opinion. I think that since video games have kind of pushed us into this digital age, we've kind of lost this sense of human interaction that a lot of people crave and we need as human beings. And so what has happened is that there's been a kind of backlash to people wanting to have that social activity. And so they still want a game, and so board games kind of combine the two. Last year there was actually a couple of really, really hot games that were cooperative in nature. One called Time Stories, and another one called Pandemic Legacy, which is like #1 on BoardGameGeek.com. And so there's a huge push for human social interaction. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go into the pros and cons of video games and board games to kind of give you an idea of that there is some kind of a push and pull with these types of games. Let's go into the pros and cons of video games. #1, it's just easy. I mean, you have these things, you can show it to the kid, it doesn't take long to load. Now that games are now on this thing called the cloud, they can download these games from the cloud or the app store or wherever they want to, and they can just play them right there. It's like super easy and super convenient. 2, it's fast to acclimate. there's so many games right now, particularly for young kids, and to get them to game at a young age is really easy. I mean, again, like I said, it's easy to show the kid, it's faster to acclimate. Three, easy to transport. Now, I mentioned this a little bit when I was talking about the first point, and easy to transport, yes, there's phones. I have my, you know, Android phone here. We have an iPad, and it's easy to take these things out. I mean, you've seen the videos. There's a lot of stuff out there that are super portable, easy to transport. Four, many programs out there are there to help children learn. And this is kind of cool. I mean, there's games, but there's also games meant to teach. There are devices like Leapfrog, and there's so many things. Like, I haven't even researched them out there because there's so many, and they help the child come up. There are online programs that allow to do that, and I could use that as a supplement to help me teach my child certain things like arithmetic or whatever. It's just so cool these days how technology has kind of eased us into easier learning. The cons are kind of simple, and I'm assuming that you kind of can see the cons based on the pros that we have. So, one, it's easy to get kids addicted to technology. Now, I have two nephews and one niece, and the nephew, my oldest nephew, he loves loves playing games on his iPad, and sometimes he gets really focused in on it to the point where I can't talk to him, and it really sucks. And I look at my kid, and I don't want my kid to be that sucked in. Even though my nephew is really, really smart. He's very smart, and he's very cool when you get to talk to him, when you rip him away from his device and all that. But, it's easy to get kids addicted to that kind of thing. Two, technology could be the babysitter. Now, in the 80s and 90s, VHS tapes were very popular, and it was accused of being a babysitter. You just plop it right in and have the kids watch it. And it can get a little bit easy on the parents. And so as much as I don't like saying this, I want to keep that responsibility to myself and entertain my children and control what they can and can't do. Maybe have a movie every once in a while, but not use it as a babysitter. Video games are becoming that thing where you just slap them on a video game and they'll be sucked in and you don't have to worry about them and it's easy to parent. That could be a bad thing. Three, loss of human interaction. I think that, like I said before, because people have moved into digital age, I think that people have lost the sense of human interaction. Pros and cons of board games. There are definitely pros and there are definitely cons. So, pro number one. There's a lot of board games out there that are geared towards younger children. In fact, when I was growing up, there were many different types of board games, dexterity games, flashcard games, all kinds of stuff. There's so many out there that are geared towards younger children. Two, board games foster human interaction and socialization. I started a club at my school just so that people at the college level could get that social interaction that they crave. And having a kid learn through board games fosters that interaction. It facilitates communication between the child and the parent. I think it's great to have some interaction like that. The cons of board games. One, it takes time to set up a board. Let's just be honest. If I have a game of memory and I have all these tiles, like about 25 tiles or whatever, and I'm laying them out, it's going to take time for me to bust out and then put all this stuff into a grid and then make sure that everything is set, and you have to explain the rules, and you gotta it takes time it's faster for you to play a video game that just instantly sets the tile up as opposed to a physical game where you have to actually do that. It takes time. Two, kids may eat or nom the pieces. Since it's cardboard is very, let's just say, destructible, right? Kids will get it, put it in their mouth, there goes that tile, right? You know exactly what that tile is if you're playing memory or whatever. Or they may rip it apart or whatever. And a lot of games are based on the fact that all the components are there. And if one component is missing or torn or destroyed, then you pretty much lost the whole game. and that's very unfortunate. 3, loss of money if the child doesn't like the game. It is hard to recoup money. You can return it, yes, of course, but like if a child doesn't like a game that you bought, like a physical game, and games nowadays, like board games particularly, can go anywhere from like $10 to all the way to like $100. I've seen some really complicated. Obviously, they're more geared towards adults, but like you have these games that you can spend a pretty penny on them. Whereas if you go to an app store, you're spending like $3-4 a game, $10 at the most for a game that's digital, super easy to load up, super easy to transport, very easy all around. Whereas you have this board game, yeah, you could be losing a lot of money if the child doesn't like it. 4, space considerations. When you have a board game or card game, it takes up space. It physically takes up space. This doesn't take much space. It's like this thin. I can clip it onto my belt. If I have a board game, you have a game that's kind of this big, and now you have to start looking for shelf space. And the more games you have, the more shelf space you need to have, and then you're starting to run out of shelf space, and that's a big consideration, especially if you're really going to get into investing in a lot of board games. I really want to hear what you want to say about board games versus video games. Certainly easier for video games, but it's a lot more enriching, I would say, with board games. Personally, I'm going to try and do both. I've already kind of cradled my kid while playing some video games, and it's really hard to kind of introduce board games when my child cannot even grip my hand. Here's stuff that I got to consider. As she gets older, my child is going to experience the backlash of what happens to kids who game online. There's a lot of like bullying. There's a lot of misogynists out there that don't like women or don't like girl gamers. I mean, these are questions I'm going to be asking in future episodes on what you think we should do or I should do as a parent to try and either shield them from these things or kind of protect them from when that actually happens, and what to tell them if they're harassed online for being a girl as a gamer. And we're going to be going more deeper into these things while my child is young so that we can kind of get some discussion and I can get some learning on that obviously you will help me with. So I really, really hope that we could move this forward, and I'm really, really fired up that you guys are still listening and you're still watching and you're still commenting and you're still telling your friends. And please, 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 please subscribe. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. I hope that you guys have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next week. Later. Oh God, why? I gotta do this again. Sorry.